Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. I'm checking in 10th canto, chapter 87, verse 26. Is that right? Yeah. Narayanam namaskritya naram chaiva narottamam devim saraswatim vyasam tato jayam udiraye. Before reciting the Srimad Bhagavatam, as our very means of conquest, we offer our obeisances to Narayan, the personality of Godhead, Narayan Rishi, the supermost human being, to Mother Saraswati, the goddess of learning, and to Srila Vyasadeva, the authors. Nasta prayeshu abhadreshu nityam bhagavat sevaya bhagavat uttama shloke bhaktir bhavati naistiki. By regular attendance in classes of Srimad Bhagavatam, or rendering service of pure devotee, all that is inauspicious to the heart is destroyed almost to nil, and thus loving service to the personality of Godhead, who is praised with transcendental song, comes into being as an irrevocable fact. Idam Bhagavatam Nama Purana Brahma Samhitam Uttama Shloka Charitam Chakara Bhagavan Rishi Nishaya Saya Lokasya Danyam Shwastayam Namaha. The Srimad Bhagavatam is a literary incarnation of God. It is composed by the incarnation of God, Srila Vyasadeva, and it is all good and all auspicious and all beneficial for everyone. So, text 26. Sad Eva Manas Trivit Twai Vibhati Asad Manujat Sad Abhimrishanti Ashesham Idam Atmatayatmavida Nahi Viriktam Tyajanti Kanakshasya Tad Atmataya Swakritam Anupravishtam Idam Atmataya Vasitam Sadiva Manas Trivit Tvai Vibat Yasad Amujad Sad Abhim Rishant Yashesham Idam Atma Tayatma Vida Nahi Viriktam Tajanti Kanakasya Tad Atmataya Sviktam Anu Pravishtam Idam Atmataya Bhagastitam. Okay, others? Nastrivit Tvai Vibat Yasad Amanujat Sad Abhim Rishant Yashesham Midam Atmatayat Mavida Nahi Viviriktam Tajanti Kanakasya Tad Atmataya Swakitam Anu Pravishtam Idam Atmatataya Vashitam. Ladies, if we have any. Manastabit tvai vivat yasad manujat sad abhim rishant yashesham idam atmatayatma vida. Nahi vikritam tajanti kanakasya tad atmataya. Swakritam anupravishtam idam atmatataya vasitam. Sat, real. Iva, as if. Mana, the mind and its manifestations. Trivit, threefold by the modes of material nature. Twai, in you. Vibhati, appears. Asat, unreal. Amanujat, extending to the human beings. Sat, as real. Abhimrishanti, they consider. Ashesham, entire. Idam, this world. Atmataya, as non-different from the self. Atmavida, the knowers of the self. Na, not. He, indeed. Vivictim, the transformations. Tajanti, reject. Kanakasya, of gold. Tat atmataya, inasmuch as they are non-different from it. Swa, by himself. Kritam, created. Anupravishtam, and entered. Idam, this. Atmataya, is non-different from himself. Avasitam, ascertained. Translation. The three modes of material nature comprise everything in this world, from the simplest phenomena to the complex human body. Although these phenomena appear real, they are only a false reflection of the spiritual reality, being a superimposition of the mind upon you. Still, those who know the Supreme Self consider the entire material creation to be real, inasmuch as it is non-different from the self. Just as things made of gold are indeed not to be rejected, since their substance is gold, so this world is undoubtedly non-different from the Lord who created it and then entered within it. Nama Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Pristaya Bhutale Srimati Bhakti Vedanta Swaminiti Namani Namaste Saraswati Deve Gaur Avani Pracharane Nirvisesha Sunyavadi Paschacha Desatarani Vanchikalpa Tarubhyascha Kripa Sindhubhya Evacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnave Vyo Namaha. Namo Mahabharanyaya Krishna Prema Pradayate Krishnaya Krishna Chaitanya Namani Gaurate She Namaha Panchatatmakam Krishna Bhakta Rupa Swarupakam Bhakta Bhataram Bhaktakyam Namami Bhakti Shaktikam. He Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dinabandhu Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostute Tapta Kanchana Gaurange Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vishabhanu Sute Devi Pranamami Hari Priye Krishna Tvadiya Padabanka Japanjarantam Ajay Vame Visatu Manasaraja Hansam Prana pranama samayeka pravata pitai kantabaro dhanavido smaranam kutaste. Purport by His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada Ki Jai. The purports are, Srila Prabhupada said, his personal ecstasies. So it should always be considered. I've had experience where devotees ask that they couldn't understand some verse because blah, blah, blah. And then I look at the purport, and the answer to their question is right in the first part of the purport. But they got stuck. They didn't read the purport. We can't possibly understand anything without Prabhupada's purports. It's very important. In one sense, the visible world is real, sat, while in another it is not, asat. The substance of this universe is solid fact, being the Lord's external energy. But the forms that Maya imposes on this substance are only temporary, and because material forms are temporary manifestations, those who consider them permanent are an illusion. Impersonalistic scholars, however, misinterpret this division of sat and asat, denying common sense reality. They declare that not only material form, but also material substance is unreal, and they confuse their own spiritual essence with that of the absolute whole. A Mayavadi philosopher would take the words spoken by the personified Vedas in the preceding prayer, Triguna Maya Puman Ibida, as negating any distinction between the Paramatma and the Jiva soul. He would claim that since the Jiva's material embodiment is an ephemeral display of the three modes of nature, when the Jiva's ignorance is destroyed by knowledge, he becomes a Paramatma, the Supreme Soul. Bondage, liberation, and the manifest world are all unreal creations of ignorance. In response to such ideas, the Vedas clearly clarify that factual relationship between sat and asat. In the Shruti literature, we find this statement, asato dirmano srijata manak prajapatim asrijat prajapati praja asrijat tadva idam manasyeva paramam pratishtitam yad idam kim cha. And there's a translation. The Supreme Mind was originally created from asat. This mind created Prajapati, and Prajapati created all living beings. Thus, mind alone is the ultimate foundation of everything that exists in this world. Although impersonalists might misread this to mean that all manifest existence is based on the unreality of illusion, asat, the apparently contradictory use of the word asat in this passage actually refers to the original causes, the Supreme Godhead, because He is a transcendental to material existence. The logic of the Vedanta Sutra 2.117 corroborates this interpretation while denying the wrong interpretation of the Mayavadi impersonally. Asat vyapadeshan neti chenna dharma mantarena vyakta ashat. If one objects that the material world and its source cannot be of one substance because the world has been called unreal, we reply, no, because the statement that Brahman is asat makes sense in terms of his having qualities distinct from those of the creation. Thus, in the Taittiriya Upanishad 271 declares, Asat va idam agra asit. In the beginning of the creation, only Asat was present. In the opinion of Srila Jiva Goswami, the word abhimana in this passage quoted above refers to the ruler of the aggregate mind of the universe, Lord Aniruddha, who appears as a plenary expansion of Sri Narayan when the latter desires to create. Prajapati is Brahma, the father of all other created beings. This is described in the Mahanarayana Upanishad 1.4. Atta punar eva narayana so anyam kaman manasa jaye tasya dhananta stitasya stasya lalanat swedopatat ta ima pratatapa tesha tejo hiranmayam andam tatra brahma chaturmukho jayata. Then Lord Narayan meditated upon another desire of his, and as he pondered, a drop of perspiration fell from his forehead. All the material creations evolved from the fermentation of this drop. Therefore, the fiery golden egg of the universe appeared therein. The fiery golden egg of the universe appeared. And within that globe, four-headed Brahma took his birth. When a particular object is manufactured, it is ingredient cause, as in the case of jewelry made from gold. Persons who want gold will not reject gold earrings or necklaces, since these items are still gold, despite their modification. True Gyanis see in this mundane example an analogy to the different yet non-different relationship of the Purusha and his imitations. Both are material and spiritual. Thus, his transcendental knowledge frees them from bondage of illusion, for they can then see the Lord throughout his creation. Srila Sridhar Swami says, Yat satvata sadabhati jagat etad asat svata tad abhasam asat yasmin bhagavantam bhajama tam. Let us worship the Supreme Personality of Godhead. By virtue of his substantial existence, this created world seems to exist perpetually, although it is essentially insubstantial. As the Supersoul, he constitutes the representation of the real within this unreality. Wow. So, to comment on this, I would need a lot of mercy from the audience, from everybody. This chapter is quite amazing. Back in the early days, many of the people we met, the hippies, they were Mayavadi. They weren't really learned, but they knew it was all one. That's what they thought. And Vridananda Maharaj was our expert to defeat the Mayavadi arguments. But he said he got all his arguments from this chapter. At that time, it was only the Krishna book. But everything is there to explain what is real and what is not real, how it can be real and not real at the same time, which this is talking about. And in the beginning of the creation, there was only asat, because before Krishna enters his time factor, nothing is happening, nothing is real. But it is real. But because it's temporary, it's not ultimately real. But it does exist. This body exists. It's real, and I'm in this body. But the body is not permanent. The ingredients are permanent. But everything is made up of the modes of nature, which are mixed up in many different ways. 3 And then, like colors, someone is an artist, we have primary colors. What are they? Red, blue, and yellow. And according to how you mix them, you get many other colors. I think I saw the computer screen advertisement. It said 26 million colors or something. It's just, it goes on unlimitedly. So the modes of nature mix, and they're always trying to compete with each other. So sometimes ignorance dominates, sometimes passion dominates, sometimes goodness. In the material world at this time, there's only mixed up. And for us, it's so mixed up, you can't really know what's what. But it's very important to understand the modes of nature. Our Swami Bhagavan Keshav Maharaj, who studied the Bhagavad-gita and analyzed, he said that out of 700 verses, 100 are about the modes of nature. But Krishna says, rise above the modes of nature. The Vedas deal only with the modes of nature. Triguna Vishaya Veda. Nistrigunya Bhavarjuna, but rise above these modes. Think of me. So the foolish people think I am the doer, when actually everything is being done by the modes of nature. But the Bhagavad-gita, when it talks about these modes of nature and how they're working and what their symptoms are, but the devotee, he sees how they're working. It says in the Bhagavatam, when the boys were entering the mouth of Aghasura, and Krishna was thinking how wonderful is the modes of nature. That's just crazy things can be happening. So we want to get free from the influence of the modes of nature. That means we have to come under the influence of Krishna. So ultimately, Lord Chaitanya gave us this Achintya Beta Beta Tattva. Simultaneously one and different. So that's what this is about. And so many of the issues we try to deal with, no matter what you come up with, someone has a sloka or something contrary. Philosophical things. Because it's both. Then we have to decide, we have to take guidance from the Guru, Shastra, and Sadhu. For us, the final authorities, like Srila Prabhupada, the Mahabharata, there's many versions of the Mahabharata. And the same story often is different than it is in the Srimad Bhagavatam. So we go by what the Srimad Bhagavatam says. That's the authoritative version. So someone may think that some acharya said something different from Srila Prabhupada. Actually, he never does, but it may look like it. Because so many different factors are there, different incarnations are coming in different millenniums and different universes again and again, and it's not exactly the same. But we have to go by what Srila Prabhupada said. When Prabhupada was present, there was no question, anybody disagreed with Prabhupada, they had to leave the movement practice. But afterward, more and more, people read many more books, many books which are not, we don't know who translated, there's no authorized commentaries. Prabhupada said, anyone who learns a little Sanskrit, they start to think they're more intelligent than their guru. That was happening. A few of our Sanskrit scholars were loyal, but others, they studied Sanskrit from somebody who was in a different line, and then they think different. So, Achintya Beta Beta Tattva. And Madhvacharya is shown like this. Difference, the super soul, the Paramatma, and the Atma are different. A few weeks ago I was speaking in Germany, and so someone asked a question, what's the difference between the Paramatma and the Atma? Soul, and he said soul and super soul. So I tried to explain, and then after he heard everything I explained, he said, can the soul become the super soul? So obviously, he had read many books. I think he was Indian origin. So he'd heard many Mayavadi things his whole life. And very hard to get out from that. You are God. Long ago, I had my cousin, my older cousin, who was materially quite gifted, but spiritually very stupid. And he gave me a book to explain his ideas. It was called Three Magic Words. And in the front of the book, it said, read the whole book before you look in the back. So immediately, of course, I looked in the back, and it said, you are God. The whole page, big words. So the book must have been so full of word jugglery and everything, so that when you read it, oh yeah, okay, that makes sense. But anyone who knows anything about God, they could never think, I am God. Just any quality of Krishna that we hear about, no one can, but except for being eternal, blissful, and knowledgeable. But everything is in very small, minute quantities. So this Prabhupada gives a lot of different explanations about the Mayavadi philosophers. So this visible world is real in the sense that it does exist. It's Krishna's energy. But the manifestations are not real because they change all the time. Nothing is permanent. Like Mother Earth in the Bhagavad-gita in the 12th canto, and she's describing how all these kingdoms come and go, and the earth is changing, the mountains come and go. But people think, I'm the controller, I'm the proprietor, this is my kingdom. And still we have many people like that. Although the kingdom that the rich people of the world have now is very small, maybe one country, with a few people. Not like these emperors of the entire universe, or emperors of the entire earth, and not like the demigods that are rulers of higher planets. So, Sat is Sat, and we're supposed to give up. When Lord Chaitanya was asked, about bhakti, and he said, Asat Sangha, Tyaga, give up the association with the temporary things, the identification of temporary things, this body and everyone else's body, and all the whatever possessions we have. Some of them will be finished very quickly. The material energy is very, very powerful. I walked down to the beach yesterday in the afternoon, and it was blocked, and the police were there. No, stay back, because the huge waves were coming. I didn't know that this particular beach ever got like that. Then I looked on the internet, quite a few people had died trying to enjoy it. And then even they built this wall with big stones, and even that's broken. And when there's a really big tsunami, it could come and take this temple right down the road. You know, there's a Buddha in Yokohama called the Big Buddha. He's very big. I think he's 15 meters big or something. So more than 1,000 years ago, now he's sitting out. There's no temple. But there was a temple. And the tsunami came. The shore is 1 kilometer away. But the tsunami took the whole temple, but not Buddha. So they didn't build a new temple. I don't know. I thought maybe they thought Buddha didn't want a temple. So he's a big tourist attraction. But that's how powerful the material nature is. But it's temporary. The tsunami, earthquake. I was in Japan when there was a big earthquake in another city. I think it lasted 10 or 20 seconds, something like that. And so many big buildings fell down. The 2 kilometers of the highway fell down, just in 20 seconds. So nothing is permanent. Can be very proud of this body, very proud. The only thing that's permanent is our relationship with Krishna. So asat saga, asat tyaga. Vaishnavachar, take up Vaishnav. Krishna is the controller of this asat and the sat. What's that verse? Bhagavad-gita? I control the rain and this and that, and asat and asat. Everything is under the control of Krishna. It's all his energy. But the asat is like the pictures on the movie screen. They just come and go. There's nothing really there. Now they can make a hologram or something, and AI looks like real, but it's not. Nobody's there. Maybe I'm not really sitting here. It's just an AI version of me. Could be. They've done that. They've had Zoom conferences, and nobody was really there. It was all AI versions. But the one person didn't know. So that's the illusory energy. It's making everybody think something that's not real is real. Something that is real is not real. And so they'll think, well, God is not real. The soul is not real. We can't see it, can't touch it, but we can see the effects. We can feel the wind, we can't see it, right? If you walk down to the beach, you'll feel the wind. Yesterday, almost couldn't walk against it. Up here, there was no wind, all the buildings, but you get close. That's just one little vayu, not a really big wind. Much bigger ones come sometime, the hurricanes, cyclones. And then many, many temporary manifestations are destroyed. Then they're built up again, maybe the same, maybe different. And one way or another, time factor takes care of them. These bodies come and go. They're born, they grow, they hang around, they reproduce, and they dwindle, and they vanish. But when Yudhishthira was asked, what's the most amazing thing? He said, everyone has gone to the abode of Yamaraj, but everyone is thinking, not me. I won't go. I can enjoy. Now, if you ask these people, oh no, I know I'm going to die, but they don't think about it. They don't live like it could be the last day. And do we actually live like that? this, whatever I'm doing right now could be what I do at the time I'm dying. I could die right now. And we never know what Krishna has in mind. Something on my mind, one of my god sisters, you might have seen the news, there was big floods in America, and she didn't know it could happen in the night. She was driving to Mangala, and she saw the water on the road. She thought it's just water on the road, because she couldn't see anything. The lights were out. So she drove right into it, but it was a bridge that was washed out. And the car went in the water, and somehow she got out, which is practically unheard of. The electric window worked, and it went down. She got out, and she swam to the shore, which is also very difficult. And it happened to be a house right there, and someone helped her. But the result was, she's a very, very lifetime book distributor even now. And her husband, they're both very simple devotees. They live very simply. He's one of the foremost cooks in the movement. And so the result was they got a new car. I thought, Krishna had a very far out way of giving him a new car. Because if they would have just said, I need a new car, and put a GoFundMe, they might have got a little money, But because of this story, they got enough to buy a medium, first-class car. So Krishna has his ways. We never can understand exactly what he's up to. Sometimes the things he does happen really quick. Sometimes it may take a whole lifetime, many lifetimes. So we should be trying to absorb ourselves in this permanent form. The form of Gaurnitai, the form of Radharasbihari, Sitaram, those are real, permanent forms. The manifestation may not last forever. The marble eventually might get smashed, but it's real. Krishna is taking that form. And that's different than the reality of this body is real, but it's unreal at the same time. Achintya Bheda Bheda Tattva. Inconceivably, simultaneously, one and different. Achintya, that's a very important word. Srila Jiva Goswami said, unless we can accept the achintya energy of the Lord, the inconceivable energy that we cannot manufacture, we cannot, explain exactly, because it's inconceivable. That means we understand it. Scientists will say, oh, you just say that because you can't explain it. But nobody can. Krishna gives us many examples so we get some idea. But achintya, bheda, abheda, it is the same and different. And this brings together all the teachings of all the sampradayas, gives us a conclusion. This particular purport is explaining it in many, many different ways. Prabhupada's English is very amazing. He's saying impersonalistic scholars misinterpret the division of sat and asat, real and unreal, denying common sense reality. They declare that not only material form, but also material substance is not real. So that's a tricky understanding. The substance is real. This earth, water, fire, air, and ether is real. But the particular form that it's combined in is not real because it's changing constantly. And it's not permanent. The ingredients are real, but the combination is not. So they confuse their own spiritual essence with that of the supreme. Like this guest who asked, can the soul become the super soul? So I tried to explain, and it looked like everyone else, yeah, sure. But this guy couldn't understand. Couldn't understand the difference. They want to be the super soul. But the super soul is all pervading. He knows everything, past, present, and future. He's actually the controller. And we hardly know anything about this life and what's going on in this body. We're not sure. Now they have many, many ways of scanning our bodies to try to tell us everything that's going on. But we don't know. And it can change. Some people, they tell you have terrible, terrible cancer, and they just drink water for a couple of months and come back and there's no cancer. Other people, they say you're completely all right, and they get another test a week later and say, you can't live another 5 minutes. So everything comes and goes except Krishna. So we are trying to, very fortunate, satsanga tyaga, Vaishnavachar, sadhu sangha, sarva siddhi hoy. There's nothing, it's the perfection of all perfections, and it's declared in all the Vedas, in all scriptures. So the difference between us and Krishna is inconceivable, but we have the same quality, Satchidananda. And we have to focus on that. That is me. I'm not this body. I'm a spirit soul. People always asking, where are you from? I suppose they don't ask you. If you went to America, maybe they would. But in America, it's so mixed up that nobody asks, like, where are you from? When I joined the Hare Krishnas, I never heard anybody ask, where you're, even because we came from different parts of America, but everybody was, I know one of my godbrothers who I knew quite well in LA when I was new, and I didn't know that he was from Greece until like 20 or 30 years later, when he would move back to Greece. And I found out he was making all these Greek web pages and Italian web pages, and he actually ended up making Dandavats. He's so talented. But nobody ever thought like that. We're spirit soul. We're not the body that was like ecstatic realization. So we should keep that in mind. We're not the body. When the jiva's ignorance is destroyed by knowledge, he becomes Paramatma. That's what the Mayavadis think. No, then he understands, I'm a servant of the Supreme Lord. Param Atma means, otherwise there wouldn't be different words, Jiva Atma and Paramatma. But the Nitya Siddha can become the Nitya Vada. It's just a matter of consciousness, adjusting our vision. So we need to adjust our vision. Now, it's a very nice view here of Lord Nrsingadev. This Lord Nrsingadev, I was here when Srila Jayapataka Maharaj had his first stroke. And I was praying very intensely to Lord Nrsingadev. Actually, more than I'd ever prayed that I could remember. But so many devotees were praying. There was always somebody sitting in front of Lord Nrsingadev and specifically praying, and worked. He could do that because the doctor said, this place is too small, there's no way to do surgery. But Lord Nrsingadev, he did it. And he's saving the whole movement. Now, how many are going to the movie today? Huh? Tomorrow. Starts today or tomorrow? Huh? Will it be all over the world coming out at the same time? So it looks quite interesting from the trailer. I always wondered why they call it a trailer. Because it's the preview. Like when I went to movies, it was a preview, like what's coming next, you know. So I finally looked it up recently. And it's because they showed the preview at the end of the movie, so it was a trailer. It came after the movie. You get a preview. So it's both, simultaneously one and different. So now we have it's not a trailer out there, it's just a preview. We didn't have a movie. So the Bhagavatam gives us a preview of the future. Everything comes and goes. Eventually, it rains for 36,000 years, and there's unlimited winds, and the whole universe is flooded, not just part of the beach or something. Now the tide is way, way out there. I was just there, you know, but in the night it's a big difference. 100 meters or more, it changes. I know in one place I go, when the tide is out, you know, people are way out there and they're up to their ankles looking for crabs or something, you know. But then when the tide, and so many boats are just sitting in the sand and there's no water to be seen. Nobody can move that boat. The material nature is so powerful. Water, for instance, is simultaneously one and different. It's basically the softest substance, right? If you just take a bath in warm water, it's so soft and so nice. But it's high pressure water can cut diamonds, can be the hardest substance. So when it comes in a big wave, it's deadly. It just smashes. We see movies of the tsunami. Buildings just go flying. You know. In Thailand, there's one city was wiped out by the tsunami. Now it's rebuilt, but there's a ship, and it's down in kind of a gully, and it's a very big police boat that was there to guard the princess. And the tsunami came, and now that ship is 2 kilometers away from where the shore was, and nobody can move it without dismantling it. So they made a museum. So you can see the results of this 20 seconds of wave or something. It just took away everything. So that's the material world. And the time factor is the most powerful thing. And Krishna says, time I am. So please pray, we can utilize our time, pray for me. One guy's advertising, it's not time management, it's mind management. You know, I was at somebody's house one time and they had 2 books by 2 different famous people on time management. Both were very successful, rich men. They had opposite ideas how to utilize your time, but both of them were successful. But none of them said, think of Krishna. Manmana bhavamad bhakto majaji mam namaskuru. It's easy, simple. Think of me, become my devotee. Other Bhagavad-gitas, no one was becoming a devotee. Prabhupada's Bhagavad-gita, as it is making devotees. So that means it's the real thing now. That's just proof that it is yatha rupa. So we'd like to always pray for the welfare of everyone. Now I see so many. I was here in 78 The temple opened in January. I came in April. I was here for 6 or 8 months. Hardly anybody was coming. And there were like 26 devotees or something. And 4 or 5 Indian origin, mostly Americans, British, because the British didn't need a visa at that time. So the Americans, we need a visa, so it was a headache. But the deities were being worshipped so beautifully. The restaurant was good. So gradually people noticed the difference of the deity standards, how new dresses every day and kirtan all the time. So it became very famous. Now we need 100 more temples. But I was, in the noontime, I was at the table here. I saw so many young couples or groups of students. There must be university students. You know, they're very, for me, they look like little babies, 18, 20. But they're just sitting around. Like this is the place they hang out. And it's Krishna's mercy because outside it's becoming more and more degraded. So people that are pious and good, they'd rather sit around the temple. They don't do anything. They may get a little prasadam, they get some books, they hear the kirtan, they get blessings. And this is all our temples, not only in India now, but the rest of the world also. More and more people are coming around. So this is Prabhupada's vision. We need visionaries. Prabhupada was a supreme visionary. He could see that this was going to become the biggest place. And even the Chowpatty temple, Prabhupada also said there should be a temple. And he pointed right to where it is now. Nobody had any idea, He was just coming out of that Gita Bhavan. There should be a temple there. Took a long time, but it came. But there should be temples everywhere, and there are all over Bombay, so many different levels of temples. So by Prabhupada's mercy, I'm still here. I'm starting to believe that this body is temporary and the teeth are breaking, but you can get imitation nuns. But at some point, we can't get to imitations. I went to a science fair in Japan like many years ago, and they were saying, they'll have artificial blood and artificial bones, and you can just keep replacing everything and never die, but so far it hasn't happened. Because it can replace a few parts, but many times the replacement is more trouble than it was worth. Like those mechanical heart, they quit doing that, But we can move on to have a higher goal to get into the spiritual world. But somehow get another body where we can serve Krishna better than in this one. That's what we're looking for. So please pray, Lord Nrsingadev, to help us. Lord Shiva here, he drank all the poison, but a few poisonous insects and animals collected a few drops. The world is full of poison now, but the sound vibration of the holy name could nullify it. Krishna sucked all the poison out of Putana. We need Krishna to take the poison out of our minds. Krishna kicked the heads of Kaliya until he vomited up all the poison. Rupa Goswami has that prayer. This mind is vicious with its vicious fangs, is terrorizing the whole world. And please, Krishna, kick it like you kick Kaliya. It's a very nice prayer. So we have Krishna Kali out there, we have Shiva here, we have all these things. Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai. I think it's late. I heard the bell ringing. The bell rings on time, right? Prabhupada was very firm about that. So we'll leave it. And Lord Nrsingadev ki jai. We hope this movie is seen by many, many people and they can get some understanding, and we can get some understanding like Prahlad and just take full shelter, full faith in the Lord. He wasn't praying, save me, save me, save me. He was just thinking how great Krishna is. So naturally Krishna saved him. SriSriRadhaRasbihariTemple ki jai. Shri Gaur Nitai ki jai. Shri Sita Ram Lakshman Hanuman ki jai. Srila Prabhupada's transcendental books ki jai. Gaur Premanandi Hari Hari Bol. Hare Krishna. Another wonderful thing, the sound is very clear now, right? For years it echoed like crazy, and they would get these engineers in, and finally they got things placed properly so it doesn't echo. We couldn't hear anything. Down here you couldn't hear anything, just... If you go on the 5th floor, you can hear the sound of the singing very clearly. Can't hear the instrument. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Ram Ram, Hare Hare.